All right, this is Grant Mulder, and this is my notes for the lesson 13 from Udacity. And we're going to be going over these main topics. So, to start off with an overview, we're going through and covering software testing, software verification, and validation more specifically. So, the introduction is typically software is buggy, so we need to verify the software as much as possible. Moving to failure, fault, and error. A failure is an observable incorrect behavior. A fault is incorrect code. And an error is the cause of a fault. So when taking a quiz for this, I found that in this situation, the problem is a failure because of the behavior of the program. The verification approaches. Some approaches to verification are testing, static verification, inspections, and formal proofs of correctness. And then some pros and cons of each one is for the testing, there's no false positives. However, it's incomplete. For static verification, it considers all program behaviors, but it does generate false positives. For inspections, there's systematic throughout it, the whole thing, but it is informal and subjective. And then for formal proof, it is strong and it guarantees a lot, but it's complex and expensive. And the quiz for the verification approach is I found that today QA is mostly testing, and Bill Gates actually was talking about it, and he backs that statement. For testing introduction, I found that testing involves executing a program on a sample of the input domain. And then for the granularity levels, there are levels of testing for each one, and then each testing level is organized as unit, integration, system, acceptance, and then regression. For alpha and beta testing, the process for testing begins with the developers testing it, and that moves to a small audience for alpha testing. And then once that's processed, it goes to a bigger but still small audience for beta testing. And then once that's complete, it'll be fully released. And then black and white box testing. Black box testing is based on a description of the software, and it cannot reveal errors from implementation details, whereas the white box testing is based on the code and cannot reveal errors from like missing paths. From the example of the black box is the example shown. There's a specification for inputs, and an integer will be printed out. Whereas in the white box example, there's a specification for inputs and an integer param, and it'll return half of the value if it's even, or it'll just return the value. And then the question I have is, I want to know how failure, fault, and error, which are the three main things we covered in the beginning, how that ties into the different black and white box testing. And that's it. So thank you.